but he said what the manifesto of the NC will do to roll out the building of houses in the whole country. But the speech was made in Alex. It didn't say 1 million houses will be built in Alex. It's just practically not possible. The president would not have said that. And then why are people evicted under my leadership during lockdown? Firstly, I have never, since coming into office, at least in this portfolio, never instructed any evictions of people. So that's the first thing that must be placed categorically. Secondly, there are people who have illegally occupied several houses and land, and there's been court orders that have been granted throughout the province to either the municipalities or the province. Some of those have been executed, others have not. Thirdly, the Gauteng provincial government adheres and is subjected to the regulations during lockdown, and we are not going to do anything contrary. The fourth point is that if there is an official of government, at least in the Department of Human Settlement, who would have ordered that, I can assure you, without any delay, we will act decisively. We've got a history, at least in the Department of Human Settlement, of acting and disciplining officials who are not adhering to the laws. And we can give you records and names of people that we have not just disciplined but fired. So I can, from where I'm sitting and with the knowledge at my disposal, I have not instructed that the people must be evicted, neither did the HOD. If it's the city, and if you've got the information, please provide that, and we will certainly act. During lockdown, we have not evicted anybody, but because we've got a big problem of invasions. You still have people invading land during lockdown. So we must distinguish between the two. People who are occupying land and houses illegally before the lockdown, those must not be touched, and they will not be as per the regulations. There are people who are taking chances, invading land, like we've seen in the south of Johannesburg. You build a shack today because it's a lockdown. We will definitely put it down tomorrow. That we will do, I can assure you, honorable members. So preventing invasion and evicting people are two different things. And we will not hesitate. We will not mince our words, which is what we are doing. So anybody who tries to invade land will be prevented. That we will do. We've got the responsibility to do that. But anyone who is in their houses, they can't be evicted. If there are people who have been evicted, that is illegal. We want that information, and we will act decisively against anybody who has given that order. And then Member Opperman raises a whole range of policy issues, some of which are long-term, which we are glad to engage with. We don't have a problem. And we are committed to securing tenure for our people. And we know that Gauteng has got limitation of land. But we also know that there's about 300,000 people who come to Gauteng every year. And we also know that we've got a backlog of 1 million in Gauteng. And we've got limited resources. And if we were maybe dealing with our human settlement strategy, we will go into detail about all the kind of interventions we're putting in place: social housing, building houses, the PNGs, the fleas, the rapid land release. Today we had a meeting with the mayors and their MMCs, and we're discussing, amongst others, the policies related to this. Who must get land that is serviced? What do we do with these unfinished houses and all that? So it's a lot of issues which we appreciate, and we are glad to engage with the member, including on the issues of FLISP, as I've said, Chair, that whether we've achieved the targets or not, and in fact we have not, and we have not been for some time. The issue is why. There are challenges related to that, and when we deal with the issue of human settlement and all this, we don't have a problem. We can do that. The member says she looked through our fourth quarter report. We present to the portfolio committee in the legislature, and one of the things we do from time to time is to adjust our plans. And you find that some of the plans, for instance, when I came in, we found that most of the targets were in the fourth quarter. We had to bring them forward because the department has had a history of not spending as a result of that. So we had to change that. So you might find that what you say has not been achieved. It was actually brought forward and all that. So you asking if we will achieve our targets. We are certainly working on achieving and even surpassing. I'll keep on coming back to this issue because context is very important. Because you're asking what systems are we putting in place. We've got a turnaround strategy which has got 6 pillars that we could share with the committee. We don't have a problem. And that turnaround strategy is also based on the historic performance of the department and the unique circumstances we find ourselves in the province. And as I've said, that we are a province that is affected by in-migration, and that strategy seeks to respond to that as a 6-pillar strategy. One of the issues in that strategy is what we call program management, because there's been a lot of challenges in how we manage our programs, and then there's internal issues in how we're dealing. By the way, the department received a disclaimer in the last financial year. We can get into the reasons why and all that. So I'm saying there's a whole range of issues that, if they were to be explained, we have to create this context, which I think, Chair, where you can call us back, maybe have a joint committee with the human settlement, and then we can deal with these issues in detail. So the question is, do we have systems? Yes, we do. Do we have enough land? We will never have enough land. I think the question is, what do we intend doing with the land that we have? And that's why one of the issues that's in the policy that we are, proposing, it's these going up, building high-rise and all that as part of dealing with this issue. And then Metro Honorable Member Tlo, I mean, the question of borrowing from municipalities, since I wouldn't have that information, honestly. I just saw myself that the DBSA is availing 4.5 billion for Tshwane in Johannesburg. And you will know that there's because she was asking since March 2020. I don't have that information, but we can get it for you and present. Then there's Member Ceza, who's talking about the 4,000 plus houses in Swetla, and making an issue of the issue about dedesertification, creating other unintended problems. But I don't know if the member knows Alex Marlborough and Kelvin. I happen to be to be born and bred there. So if you move from Alex, you go to Stretcher or you go to Kelvin, you are basically in Alex. You just walk there. But the question is raising about creating economic opportunities. That's why I took the committee on our plan, our 6-point plan during the COVID-19. There is an aspect that deals with economic recovery. And our Department of Economic Development is seized with that. And amongst other things, we've got issues about SMMEs, we've got issues about manufacturing, the township economy, etc., and all that. I happened to be in my previous portfolio in that department, and one of the things we said we have to do, especially in areas like Marlborough, because we've got a lot of abandoned industrial infrastructure, is how do we utilize it to turn create economic opportunities for the people there. But I think the Department of Economic Development, rather the MEC, will be better placed to articulate this eloquently than me. What barometer is used on who will be moved? We're not using barometer, using a list. We've got a housing list. We've got, the honorable member will know that we've got a list that is also a centralized housing demand list. Whether it's accurate or not is something else. And as I've said earlier on, the informal settlements in Gauteng have got different characteristics. Others are more congested than others, and all that. Stretcher is one of those. So that will be a reason. There are other informal settlements in Alexandra and around Alexandra, but if you look at Stretcher, it will be more congested and all that. So on how many sites been identified for dedesertification, the sites that we have stated there in the presentation, Chair. But I'm saying this because our approach is not just to look at COVID-19 mechanically, because you'll never know when the pandemic will come to an end, or if it will ever come to an end, and whether it will live with us and all that. That's why the approach we took was to mainstream in our programs and in our budgeting. So there are various land parcels that we own as the provincial government, and some of them don't have services. There are those that have been identified in and around Alex, for instance, like in Linksfield, which in Linksfield, Frankenwald, that will be used as part of the Greater Alexandra Renewal Project, as announced by the President. And that project is housed in the Housing Development Agency. And then for the whole province, we have also asked the Housing Development Agency on our behalf to ask private individuals who've got land, especially serviced sites where there's water, electricity, and roads, to indicate so that we are able to acquire those and immediately place our people or build houses, because the other problem about land, you might have parcels, but if those parcels are not serviced and habitable, you might not be able to immediately relocate people. How many protests have been there? In the plan, the 6-pillar plan I've presented, one of the other pillars, it's law enforcement and compliance. So we got through our Department of Community Safety with our police and Prof joints. We are monitoring that. Those figures are there. We can provide them, including the reasons for these protests. There are various reasons. The Mzimhlope, lack of electricity. We in our meeting today, we're discussing that issue of the outages in the whole province. So we actually have a problem in the whole province, and we had already started meeting with ESCOM, and unfortunately we did not find joy, because some of these outages can be dealt with by ESCOM, doing certain things, working with our municipalities. Others can be dealt with by our municipalities, but you also have what we call ESCOM supplied areas, and there's municipal supplied areas. If I'm not mistaken, the biggest portion of Soweto is supplied by ESCOM, and Mzimhlope is there. So I would suggest that we get the ESCOM to answer there. But we were not saying that the areas supplied by municipalities have no problems. In fact, there's a lot of problems, and one of the issues we are raising with them is to ensure that the turnaround time is improved, because there are unavoidable problems like illegal connections, for instance, which contributes negatively towards the grid and all that. So even this issue, it's an issue that would have to be looked at. In fact, today we had a presentation on just the energy issues in our province, and we will be saying a few things in public on this matter, because we are also concerned ourselves. Being residents of Gauteng, we are affected by this, so we don't just read about it, because we are also subjected to it. Honorable Member Luthuli I raised and explained the issue of graves and the position of the Gauteng government. Position of the Gauteng government. We're not digging graves. Asikupi amatuna for abantu bethu. It's not the position. And we have never said that. And that's why when there was a misunderstanding, there was that clarity. We will never do that. And that's why I said we apologize profusely for that confusion. It's not our policy, but we understand the impact of that misunderstanding, and we hope it will not happen again. But our position is clear. We will never do that. Consistently, we will articulate our desire to ensure that we are ready for any eventuality, whether the number of beds in hospitals, the quarantine and isolation sites, and all other related matters to the health of our people. The Honorable Member Khadebe is asking a question about what constitutes the war rooms. These war rooms, I did say that firstly they are chaired by a councillor. So it doesn't matter whether it's a EFF councillor, IFP councillor, DA or ANC. So it's a councillor as defined by law and as elected by the electorates in that particular ward. And then they will be joined by other stakeholders like the police, the clinic representatives, if there's a clinic in that ward, the schools, the CTWs. So this is in the main, it's a government monitoring mechanism to be able to link all the different spheres of government and ensure that there is better communication even with our people. For instance, there was an issue about the distribution of food at some point. And we said as the government of Gauteng that we don't want politicians to be involved in this. But we think if we had and if we have this kind of a structure, it will help with oversight in a ward and make sure that things move smoothly. The issue about the 437 out of 529, what has been the outcome based on the objectives that the chair stated, and that we must compare with the other 92, and if they serve the intended purpose, if yes, how? Yes, we believe they serve the intended purpose, but secondly, we have been for some time, as you say, we took a decision in June, but it took a bit of time to establish this, as you can imagine, in the 529. And at the time, there were a number of challenges because there was still panic. The issue was how do we establish, how will they meet? Will it through virtual? Will it be physical? If they meet physical, where do they meet? Will you provide PPE? If they meet virtually, do they have the tools? So there's been a whole range of challenges and issues, but we are glad that we have at least are where we are. That's the second point. But that point is that the 92 that has not been established is largely your DA-led municipalities where DA said, no, these are political structures which are meant to advance the political agenda of the ANC, which is not true because, as I've stated, that a councillor must take responsibility for their awards. And hence, and we were threatened with the legal action. Hence, we asked that the minister must regulate them and use this as a pilot, which could be rolled out. And we think there can be a lot of value if these are properly structured, coordinated, resourced, and they can bring effectiveness in helping us to fight the pandemic. But over and above that, help us with service delivery going forward and make sure that all government structures and institutions are able to cohere at all levels as part of the taking forward the district development model. So we will continue to monitor this. There are areas where there has been some value, and this is uneven, and we might have to do a thorough, which is what we'll do because we've got resources that have been allocated, analysis of how we have fared so far. The challenge on the maintenance of water tanks, how do we mitigate this? As I've said, that firstly, we coordinate as Cooperative in the province, and national and municipalities have got the resources and the competency and to roll out this. We've got forums, firstly, where we, as I'm saying, like today, we met with the mayors and MMCs, where we receive these reports. So these 800, or maybe start with the challenge. The issue of maintenance speaks directly to the resources. For instance, municipality like Mirafo, which used to be a mining area, and whose revenue has dropped drastically, even before the lockdown.
Agriculture. Minister, can you mute your microphone, please? Minister.
So you can imagine how difficult it will be for them to maintain new tanks that they never had, and they were given these tanks by national. So there are no quick fix solutions. We are looking at the short term, medium, and long term. And in the long term, it's how do we resolve the revenue issue so that they can have resources. And that is why we have taken keen interest in the mines that are owing the municipality. And we will be meeting with them soon, because there's a lot of money that the municipality is being owed by the mines, and some of them have been liquidated and all that. So it speaks to a whole range of issues related to revenue generation in the short, medium, and long term, so that the municipality is able to discharge its responsibilities, not only to maintain the water tanks, but to also services that with the bulk service providers like Eskom and Rainwater. The georeferencing basically means that you've got tanks, some of which are still in the warehouses because they've been delivered, but the municipality must still install, and installation requires resources. And they've not been able to do them, but they are there. So you are able to locate this 1,400. You know that this 1,479, they are connected in Motse Street or Mamkize Avenue, and you know they are there. So it's that issue. The quality of water, we made this observation to say it has to be dealt with, because it was not just in Hammanskraal, though in Hammanskraal it was severe, or it's still severe, because the work to fix it has started now. So there are areas where we've started, like in Hammanskraal, a service provider has been appointed, they are on site, and they are dealing with a whole range of issues. So we are dealing with that. And in fact, the revenue losses combined of our municipalities' latest figure is 8.6 billion. And what was the collection rate prior COVID-19? It varies from municipality to municipality, but most of our municipalities, with the exception of few, they are hovering around 90% plus in terms of their collection. I know that Mirafong, it's not there, it's around 70 something. This is before COVID-19. I know Mfulen is around 80 something. What is the other one? Yeah, Rand West would have been maybe around 80 something as well, and Mohali City. But the rest are hovering around 90 something percent, which is what is desired. But the pandemic has had a devastating effect on them. This prioritization of grants, how much is in total was prioritized? Firstly, today we had a meeting with the mayors, and that meeting treasurer was there. We asked the same question. They've asked for some time because they are busy with the municipalities finalizing that. So I don't have that figure readily available. We can make it available to yourselves. The 1.9 billion provided in the municipalities is not yet there, but it's what municipalities have been told. So what it means is that municipalities have been spending based on their reprioritized budgets. As you can see in the report where we're showing areas that have been decontaminated, issues of sanitizers, PPEs, it's money that they have, and we will quantify that. What are the internal controls measures? have we put in place to avoid abuse, COPTA and municipalities? Okay, firstly, I'm sure the members clear knows that we, as COPTA, we don't necessarily spend on this in the province, at least because of our extremely limited resources. Our budget is limited. We, however, work with Treasury in the province, which has got statutory responsibilities on the finances of the municipality. And we monitor these spending of municipalities regularly. We've got MPACs in municipalities, as you know. Some of them are not functioning as efficient, and we are working on capacitating them. For instance, in Mohali City, we have concerns in the Citibank district, but overall, most of our MPACs are there, and we've got monthly reports that are given to Treasury. As to whether those are sufficient or not, it's a discussion I think we can have, but we are trying our level best to ensure that these internal controls, as determined by the MFMA, other treasury regulations and instructions, the recommendations of the AG, the capacity that is required by the municipalities, including the filling of critical vacancies and making sure as well that those vacancies attract adequately skilled and experienced individuals. The issue, lastly, I want to deal with, or rather two, that the chair was raising. The catering payment is in Tshwane. You know, as a committee, that we have placed that municipality under administration. So what happened during lockdown was that's when the period of administration was commencing. Some of the officials did a lot of wrong things, did not follow procedure, appointed companies, and there were inflation of prices and all that. So the administrators were then confronted with this issue, and when they received the invoices, they could realize that something is wrong, and they could not process them. They had to subject those to a process of a forensic. A preliminary report is out, and based on that preliminary report, there's an executive director who has been suspended already, and there's a few other officials who will be suspended. And I'm told that in the next 10 days we'll have a final report. But the preliminary report already indicates that some of the invoices have been inflated. That in fact, what the service providers are claiming is 70% more in most cases. And the attitude of the administrators is that they will pay everybody who have provided a service. But if, for instance, you say you have provided a bottle of water for 200 rands, there is no way they will pay for that. They will look at the market-related price, and they will pay you for providing water, as long as you can prove that indeed water was provided. So that is the process they are involved in. They have not said they don't want to pay. They will pay. And lastly, the issue raised by the chair about the social distancing in the funerals. You are correct. We've raised this issue as a matter of concern in our provincial command council, and the premier has consistently articulated in our weekly briefing, and we have pleaded with our people, and we will continue to plead that they must observe social distancing and the regulations. And the police have numbers. We can provide those of people who have been fined, who have been arrested as part of compliance. But it shouldn't get to that point. We have to also in our constituencies, as the public representatives, make sure that we spread the awareness, the message, And the chair is right. It's getting out of control in certain areas. We agree with you, and we will do our level best. I think the MEC for Social Development will deal with the issues, followed by MEC Mamagulo and then MEC Lisufi. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you so much, MEC. Can we start with the MEC for Social Development?
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you to the honorable members for the questions. On the first question of Honorable Mkalipi on the FSM, the facility is temporarily closed, Honorable Member, and a cabinet approved that it must be closed for 12 months. And we have a clear plan of action to say when and how should each and every activity that is captured in the plan should unfold. And then with regard to the NPOs that are not paid, we have paid all our NPOs. We have a total of 3,334 NPOs, and we have paid 95% of those. And those that were not paid, it could be because of some a few issues on non-compliance and mismanagement of funds. But if Member Kalipi can maybe give the specifics to Shireen, I can be able to follow up and I will be able to tell the honorable member exactly why a specific NPO was not paid. And with regard to the distribution of food, the criteria is 100% unemployment in the family or a combined salary income of less than 3,600 per family, including salaries, social grants, or 350 grants. We also look into the normal beneficiaries of social development after the assessment has been done by social workers. You might find that somebody has applied for a grant or a foster care, a grant, and then they do assessment, and then after that, people will then get their food parcels. And then we also, the criteria that is also used by municipalities was that they also use their indigent registers. And then municipalities have distributed more than 30,000 food parcels as well. And then coming to Honorable Metro on the homeless that have absconded from the shelter, and then whether are we making thorough follow-up in ensuring that they are not spreading the virus around. What is happening is that when they are in the shelter, remember, we can't keep them against their will at our shelters. During the hard lockdown of 21 days, where there were no movements, we were managing to keep them in one place. But after the relaxation of the lockdown to extended level 3, some of them were now going to work. We know that most of them are doing car wash. Some of them are doing small jobs. So they go and come, and then some of them decided that they are no longer coming. But what we made sure of was that every homeless person received 2 masks that they can use to protect themselves. And fortunately for us, I was in the shelter in Acacia last week, and then I got a brief that we did not have a single person that died because of COVID in our shelters. So we thank God for that at least we did not have that. And then we do have Doctors Without Borders that are assisting us with the screening of the people at the shelters. They are also checking their hypertension, and those who are on chronic medication, they get their medication. We also have assistance from SANCA, and then the Department of Health is doing screening in all of them that are in the shelter. And then a response to Member Kweza on the interest of service delivery, or on the 400 and 4,550 households. We are distributing to households, yes, it's 404, 550 households, meaning that we give a 1 food parcel a month that will provide for a family of minimum 5 per family. And then when you multiply that with a number of families that are benefiting, we have already fed to this date more than 2 million people in Gauteng. And then the focus on those affected by poverty and those made vulnerable by the lockdown, that those are the focus on the food distribution. And then with regard to the 219 elderly who passed on, when we get these reports, they would always say death related to COVID-19. That is why in my presentation, I said I will have to go and visit the shelters. Fortunately, they are in my program as part of my orientation. As you know that I'm still new, to go and visit the shelters and see, even if we know that they are the most vulnerable in terms of comorbidities, maybe to check exactly what is the cause of death in these facilities. Because even though we are implementing preventative measures by preventing visitors and isolating those who are infected, providing PPEs, but maybe there's something more to it that one needs to investigate and know exactly what is happening. And then the other issue that I think might be an issue is that the caregivers are members of the community, and therefore they are at risk of transmission the virus because they work during the day or during the night, they go home, they come back, and they might expose the elderly to COVID. And then with regard to Ubaba Inc., or I've responded to Ubaba, and on the one chair, yeah, or on the shelters again, Chairperson, you said, do we have a tracing mechanism for those who are going at their own will? We don't have a tracing mechanism, but what happened is that Gauteng has approved a policy of dealing with the homelessness, and then they have approved a budget of 88 million. So in that budget, we were discussing when we were in the subcommittee to say we have to cost the policy, the framework, and then do a consultation with municipalities and maybe identify the buildings that municipalities are not using so that they can at least have a place where they can put their stuff, where they can have a bath and then go wherever they want to go and come back, and then at least have a meal when they come back. So we are in the process of a consultation with municipalities. We had a meeting with them today. And there was another one from Chair on the 350 beneficiaries and post offices. I think MEC Maile also responded partly to that, to say community safety is also trying to come up with a plan, because they were also complaining in one of our meetings to say there's no social distancing because people are just concentrating on getting the grant. But however, the communities are also encouraged to use electronic means to receive this grant. Chair, I don't know if I've responded to, I think I've responded to all the questions. Thank you very much, Chair.
MEC Lusofi, over to you.
Thanks so much, Chair. Thanks for the opportunity. I don't think there was a question related to education. I think I'll leave it to MEC Mamabolo, but thank honorable members for the opportunity they've granted us to explain the state of affairs in Gauteng. I think our colleagues, both from the portfolios of health and the portfolios of social development, human settlement, and COPTA, tried very hard to, and they've done very well in responding to some of the questions. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Chair. I'll leave it to MEC Mamabolo if there is a question related to health that needs to be answered. Thanks, Chair.
Okay. Thank you. On MEC Mamabolo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and honorable members, Minister and Deputy Ministers, DG and HOD and MSCs. Just very briefly, there was, I thought we had dealt with the issues of health yesterday. And I agree with what was said earlier, but there's just one issue very briefly about the issue of continuity or cancellation of companies allegedly involved in acts of corruption on COVID-19 supply chain. I just want to emphasize a point I made in the morning, and this point was referred to, and that's just that the matters of COVID-19 allegations of corruption have been referred to the SIU by Honorable Premier and the provincial government, and those matters are being dealt with by our law enforcement agencies. And it will be correct, I believe, to wait for facts, even if these are preliminary facts, but to wait for information from the SIU before we can take any proper decision on any of the issues we have referred to the SIU.
MEC Mamabolo, they want to see you. I'm told I must ask you to switch on your video.
Oh, okay.
We'll be happy to see you again.
Yeah, I just thought that maybe it's better for the quality of the sound when
audible, very audible.
Okay.
I don't think you are sounding
okay.
perfect.
Okay. Okay, Chair. Thank you very much. So the point I was essentially making is that let us wait for a very comprehensive process by our law enforcement agencies and wait for facts. Because if every time there's a frontline, headline, newspaper article about this company, that company, and we have to answer in the manner that I was asked to answer in the morning, we will be running a parallel process with the one that we have really established, and it can create confusion. So we are a country founded on the principles of the rule of law and the supremacy of everything in our constitution. So facts and credible information is quite critical to making important decisions so that these things don't come back when we would have just rushed with the headlines in a manner that will not help the process. Premier David Makura will continuously make an update on the issues, the provincial government. So I just want to say that we should be very cautious not to be driven by headlines, however tempting that could be. We have to respect the profound principles embedded in our laws and in our country's constitution, which is always to move from the basis of concrete facts. So to that extent, the matters will be dealt with in that way. If the Hawk says to, SIU say to us, here's a case, clear case, we will deal with those matters. And I just want to assure members that government as a whole, including in the province, is very clear that we will not tolerate matters of corruption. They will be dealt with without fear or favor, and that should be based on the integrity of facts and not chasing newspaper headlines. The other point I was asked about relates to the newspaper article again that the HOD, that the department had authorized the distribution and supply of cigarettes under conditions of the regulations, COVID-19 regulations, that clearly specified the do's and the don'ts. I have to this extent asked the HOD to prepare a response on this matter and to really understand what could have happened. And once that is done and the provincial government will also be briefed, we'll be able to make an announcement on that issue. But at this point, I've asked the HOD to provide information on that, and I know he was working on it, and probably will get information on that issue, and information will be provided. I just want to add, Chair, that yesterday there was a question about a family in Tembisa that lost their loved one and whether we had visited that family as government. I was assured by the HOD that that family was visited. And I had no reason not to believe that, but I've been assured that the visit was done, as we did commit that we might have to visit that family if it was not done. So to that extent, Chair, I think I have clarified the issues that were raised. And let me join also to thank honorable members for the opportunity. And thanks very much.
The issue of the support of the taxi industry, MEC, before you thank us.
And the issue of the clinic, Chair, before he thank us.
Chair, the issue of the taxi industry support in the province, I just want to say that firstly, 3 points. We have a very good working relationship with the taxi industry, both Santago and the National Taxi Alliance in Gauteng, the Gauteng National Taxi Alliance. We provide support to the taxi industry through the sanitizers, disinfectants that are used to comply with the health and hygiene regulation, part of the regulations to protect commuters. And we also have recently brought members on board and we're giving them a stipend to make sure that we don't leave commuters at taxi ranks to chance, to informality, to, by the way, we want the taxi industry to protect commuters in a much more formal, organized, proper way, and in a consistent way. So, and of course, there's another support to the taxi industry. We have signed an MOU with them, and we also are looking at supporting some of their administrative issues as is a practice across the province. I think we were the only province that was not doing that. So if I understood the question, Chair, I just want to say we have very good relations with the taxi industry, and we have got very good resolutions that support them. And to that extent, both COVID-19 and I guess even building a long-term sustainable relationship, at this point, we are very comfortable with the work that the taxi industry is doing. And with respect to the clinic, Chair, I would like to check if the HOD is, I know he is on the line. I would like to ask him to quickly speak to the matter about the question raised on the clinic. I hope I've answered the other questions. HOD, Prof. Lukele is on the line. I've seen him. Can I ask him to come in?
HOD Lukele.
Honorable Chair, Minister, MECs, and honorable members. I have to apologize that I could have missed the question as I had a 2 minutes interruption. I would like to apologize on that fact for me to respond appropriately on the clinic. I apologize, honorable members.
Okay, in fact, Honorable Kalipi wanted to make follow-up questions. She will raise it again so that you get it clearly, Prof. Any other member who want to make follow-ups except Honorable Mkalipi?
Honorable Hadebe, Honorable Chair.
And who else? The two of you. Okay. Honorable Mkalipi, can you grant the HOD the indulgence and you repeat the question around the clinic and also deal with the other matters that you wanted to raise as follow-ups? Over to you, Honorable.
Okay, Chair, thanks very much. Thanks very much, Chairperson. HOD, it was about the Gauteng Health Department was reported to have allowed a clinic to buy cigarettes during the lockdown. So it was reported on news. So we wanted to get a clarity on that one if you have a knowledge of that. The other issues, Chair, I just want to make a follow-up in regards to MEC Cooperative, who was responding on various of issues that we raised here. And I just want to say that to the MEC of Cooperative, we are dissatisfied the way you are responding on issues of which we feel as the committee that is responsible to do the oversight over you as the MEC of Cooperative in the province, as well as the municipalities in the country. Because MEC, we are dealing with the lives of the people here, especially the lives of the poor people here. You can't come here in this committee and then you just respond for the sake of responding. You rather say, because yesterday, two of the MECs were here, they were very humbled, and they said respectively, if they don't have answers, they request to send answers to the portfolio committee. I could have expected you to do the same. You can't come and tell us that the issue of Merafong, which I asked the secretary and the researcher of the committee to flight it here in order for you to see how serious is the matter. Because at some point when you raise issues, it does not carry the same weight when you see it through your eyes. So those houses in Merafong are very, very, very disturbing. That's why I was asking you if are the animals who are living in those houses or are the people? So to come here and tell me that we have more than 2,000 projects and I can't expect you to know them by head, I don't think it is acceptable, MEC. You could have said that you will also come back again through the written replies or to come to update the portfolio committee, because when you speak here, we don't speak for ourselves, but we speak on behalf of the voiceless who can speak for themselves. So the issue of Merafong, I think, is a very serious case, and I believe is not the only project that is in that state of affairs in Gauteng, but it was just one example that we want you and the Department of Housing and Human Settlement in Gauteng to respond and come with a clear plans on how to address the issues if our people still find themselves in that state of affairs. So I'm not accepting what you have telling me. The second issue here that I raised about Alex Extension 7, Ward 105, I was specific to you to say that, can you kindly give us a clear report, because it happens yesterday. And I even said here officially, those people were there 2 years ago. And then to come to say that you don't know as the MEC of Cooperative, which the city reports to you, is also not acceptable. Because people were evicted yesterday, they were not provided with an alternative accommodation, and you come here and said you don't know, you will check with the city as if it's business as usual. It is not business as usual. You are talking about the people, the lives of people who does not have any alternative accommodation for their families. So an active government would have said that we know what happened, or let us check with the city of Joburg, because I also found unacceptable that the Johannesburg city can do as it pleases, not to have reporting somewhere else, like you as the human settlement who must do the oversight over Johannesburg human settlement. Whoever who is instructing those officials to go and evict those poor people, they must account. And if you are not going to hold you accountable to this committee, no one will be the voiceless of the people. So in this committee, MEC, we don't work like that. So therefore, Chairperson, I'll propose that we need clarity, we need tangible clarity, we need solutions to the issues, especially that affect our people. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mkalipi. Honorable Hadebe.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'd like to make a follow-up on the few issues, starting with the issue of the storage tanks. MEC Maile, you indicated that the 590 that you could not have coordinates and do geo-referencing, those are still lying somewhere in the storage facilities. I'd like to get a sense and the understanding, why is that a case, given that we are 4 months down the line into the state of the national disaster? There are people who are in dire need of water, yet we have a sense that you still have 590 storage tanks. That defeats the purpose of us trying to defeat this invisible enemy called COVID-19. I would appreciate an explanation as to why is it a case where you still have storage, tanks lying within the storage facilities somewhere in Gauteng. And secondly, also I think, Honorable Chair, COGTA nationally, we also have to give a response in this regard. The 1.9 billion from the 20 billion that was announced by the President, we are told it has not yet been transferred to municipality. I'm not sure whether it has reached the provinces, but I'd like to get a sense, what is the delay and how soon can we expect that those funds will be transferred to municipalities? Like I indicated earlier on, we are 4 months into a national state of disaster and lockdown, and yet the money that were promised to municipalities have not yet been transferred. I think the last issue that I also want clarity, I accept and welcome the fact that you have met with all the municipalities and they've given indication that they'll provide you with the list of the COVID response plan where it's costed. But I also find it strange that up to this stage, I understand as well, let me put it clear, I understand the obligation of local municipalities as enshrined in Section 151 of the Constitution, that the executive and legislative authority lies with municipal council. But as province and national, we also have a responsibility to play an effective oversight in these municipalities. So if at this stage we don't know how much money was allocated for COVID-19 response plan in each municipality, how then are we expected to monitor whether or not there is no abuse of the funds, which we as the province have directed them to reprioritize those funds to be spent to COVID-19? I would have expected by now you know how much was reprioritized and what will the money be spent on. There's a saying that you cannot manage that which you cannot measure. So in essence, I'm expecting a province to have a sense and an idea at this point in time that municipality A, after we have directed them to reprioritize conditional grants and unspent money, this is what they've reprioritized and this is where and how the money will be spent, so that in an event where the alarms bell and there's abuse, you would know that, no, hang on, you were supposed to spend this much. Why are you overspending? So I'm appealing that let's expedite the process of getting to grasp with what is happening down to our municipalities in relation to COVID response plan that are costed, so that it will give us a proper sense of monitoring and evaluation. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Hadebe. Mine is a follow-up with regard to the responses by the MEC Muketi, the issue on the shelters. I heard you saying that you don't have tracing mechanisms. Then my issue was around this to say, before they fled the shelters, did you know these individuals' statuses, whether they were COVID negative or COVID positive? And then I heard you talking about something like a strategy, but to say under the circumstances, as to where do they go to, and then the possibility of them infecting others. I would like to get your response to that effect. Then the MEC, yes, it's a fact, MEC of Cooperative, it's a fact that Tshwane is under administration, but there are issues that we felt we need you to address with us today. If you have observed over the past 2 days, in Mamelodi there were riots there. The issues around power failures. Then people, they were on the streets and then blocking the roads. People couldn't even access that place. Even around the hospital in Mamelodi, we shared that with the colleagues yesterday, that there was a problem there. Then the issue here also is around Tshwane in general. There's no refuse collection over the past few weeks. Is it apportioned to the fact that Tshwane is under administration, or what is actually happening? Because you move around the city of Tshwane, you find refuse all over there. Secondly, now with regard to the response to COVID-19 pandemic, in the absence of councillors who are supposed to be the messenger for government in conveying the messages, in the city of Tshwane, who's doing that? If there's somebody hired to do that, and if that is the case, at what expense? Those are the issues that one wanted to raise with you. Over to you, MEC and colleagues.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Chairperson.
Questions.
Chair.
Who's calling the chair?
Hello, Chairperson. It's Mkalipi. Chair, the issue of Ward 68, I thought that you are going to come back because we couldn't hear you, but we can hear that you wanted to raise a very critical point.
Okay, it was around evictions, so I didn't raise it because it's the matter that we are planning a joint committee meeting with the Human Settlement Portfolio Committee, but the issue around that is some people who have just been evicted in Gabon, in Davidton, in Ward 68, in Ekurhuleni, but I didn't make follow-ups based on the fact that the MEC say that he's even prepared to come and address this matter with us. Like I said, it came from the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Human Settlement to say that we must raise it with them now that they will be here today. But that's the matter that I was raising, to say those people, seemingly they were evicted, left without shelters, they are lingering, some have got smaller children, or their properties have been burnt. They've lost everything, so they are homeless. They said their plea was to request for government to give them shelter, which the government has not done, but I should believe the MEC is the matter that is going to investigate and refer back to us on the matter. Over to you, MEC, or should I first allow Professor Lukele to first deal with that issue of clinics now that Honorable Mkalipi has raised it, Professor?
Chair, can I come in?
Yes.
MEC Mamabolo.
Okay.
Yeah, Chair, when the matter was raised, I thought I'd dealt with it, and I was sure that perhaps we didn't miss a matter, and I was right because the hospital was linked to the matter of the cigarettes, and I thought I had placed on record that I'd asked the HOD to formally respond to this matter by presenting me with a report on this issue, a report which I would share with the committee as part of our responsibility to account to the portfolio committee. But I just wanted really to plead that I first have sight of the report for
Okay, that's
purposes
fair
of
enough.
accountability. Yeah.
That's
Thank
fair.
you.
That's fair on that matter. It's noted. You give us feedback as a committee to that effect. Then let me then hand over to MEC Naile.
Thank you very much, Chair. As a caring ANC-led government, we are always concerned about the plight and the situation that our people find themselves in. And we will never take that for granted, nor display arrogance in dealing with these issues. If the member heard me well, despite mentioning the more than 2,000 projects in passing, I was able to explain that the issue of unfinished projects and the issue of sinkholes are two different issues, which might be interrelated at some point, because there might be houses. In fact, there are houses that were built previously by government, and unfortunately, they are affected by the sinkholes. And I said that the issue of unfinished projects, I even gave a number of 12 billion that we require to deal with that problem, which is widespread in the province. And I even said that this dates back to many, many, many years, even before I was in the executive. So I said that, and that we have a plan, and that I don't want to deal with the details because of time. And I also made reference to the limitations of the framework that we were given. Hence, we could not provide specific details project by project, including what is required. So I don't understand what's the arrogance there. Then I said that the issue of the sinkholes we have, and I went in detail. I even made an example about the Elijah Bahai project, which has yielded 1,200 houses, which was launched by Minister Lindiwe Sisulu, which will accommodate the residents there. And I went further to explain that some of the people don't want to move from their houses. So, so I'm not sure where's arrogance there. If the member has the right not to be satisfied with the answers that I give, but she can't then accuse me of being arrogant. I know I've got that capacity, and I've not displayed it today because I understand that I'm appearing before the Committee of Parliament, which has got constitutional responsibility to do oversight. So I take exception of being accused falsely of being arrogant. That's not right. the issue that we must have plans, we must resolve issues. I did say we've got plans, and I even dealt with some of the elements of the plans. If the honorable member wants us to present our plans, we don't have a problem. I've said that, Chair, that we can even come back. I even suggested that we can even have a joint committee, human settlement and yourselves. Not unless I have a problem of comprehension and understanding this issue. So, Chair, we've never been arrogant before this committee. We'll never be. We don't have that luxury, unfortunately, even if we wanted to. So, with the greatest humility, Chairperson, the issue of sinkholes is being attended to. We've got the program. It affects the largest part of Merafong municipality. We have already relocated people. We will continue to relocate them. The issue of unfinished projects, we will attend, and we are attending to those. If you look at our business plan, which is approved by Minister of Human Settlement, we have allocated resources, and we keep on allocating resources. So I'm not sure which part of the question I have not answered in relation to that. The issue about Ward 105, I did answer and said, neither me nor the HOD, meaning the executive authority and the accounting officer, have given an instruction that people must be evicted. And I said, we will have to check with the municipality. So the member says, humility means you must ask, indicate that you look for the, for the information. I thought in simpler terms, that's what I meant. And maybe I might have went further to explain the problem we're facing of evictions versus invasions. And I said, and I want to repeat, that those who are invading during this period will be prevented from doing that, and we will act decisively. So that we will do. I said that. And we are under no illusion that it's business as usual. We know, and that's why I gave the numbers, just to demonstrate our appreciation of the problems we are facing as a province. I said that we've got a backlog of 1 million houses. We've got 300,000 people coming here every day. If we appreciate that fact, surely we can't act as if things are normal and not be and not show a sense of urgency. And we're not sure at this point, which is a fact, who instructed the eviction. I even went further, Chair, to make a commitment and put my head on the block before this committee that if there is an official in the department we have the privilege to lead with this human settlement, if there is an official involved, we will act decisively. And I went further to explain that we've got a history of acting decisively and dismissing people. So if that's not enough, I don't know, Chair. And then the fact that the city is doing as it pleases. There is no city here in Gauteng municipality that is allowed space to do as they please. At least in this term, Mashaba knows us very well. we were able to deal with him decisively when he was showing those tendencies of being a free agent and doing things outside the law. The city of Tshwane knows, the city of Ekurhuleni, there is no single city that has not been that has not experienced our wrath as the provincial government, irrespective of who's leading that. So at this point, I don't think it's proper to say the city is doing as it wishes. I would suggest, Chair, that we be allowed to look at this matter, and whoever that is responsible for violating the regulations must face the consequences. That's our position. Honorable Khadebe, on the issue of the, and you are correct, Honorable Member, we share your sentiments that you can't still be having tanks sitting in warehouses. But unfortunately, that's a sad reality. And we can't lie before the committee and create the impression that everything is well. When we appear before the committee, we have a responsibility to provide factual information. And of course, the committee is within its right to reprimand us, to also guide us on what must happen. As a member, Khadebe has correctly said that we must expedite the process. But he has also asked, why is this the case? In my response, I indicated that some of these municipalities do not have the money to install because national government, the Department of Water and Sanitation, does not provide installation money. It requires that the municipalities must do it. And those who have not been able to do it, unfortunately, still have these in their warehouses. And I agree that we have to expedite and work with them to ensure that they install. The issue of maintenance, for instance, the department would have provided as an interim measure based on the fact that the municipalities cannot afford the tankers or the trucks that fills these tanks. But the department made it clear that it is for a specific period, and therefore the municipalities would have to do that. So this, unfortunately, is a sad reality that we're facing, which we have to confront. And that's why when I answered, I also said we need to look at this issue in the short term, medium, and long term. But ultimately, we have to deal with the issue of revenue, because if municipalities don't have money to install and to also maintain and refill, it would be a problem. So we agree with you. We share your sentiments, and we will do what we can to the best of our abilities as COCTA to deal with this issue. And we will never hide the truth from the committee or from our people, because that would be the relation of duty, and that would be irresponsible of us. And it doesn't matter how difficult the issues are, we must put them on the table, because if we don't, we will not benefit from your wisdom. We will not get, because the committee could come with the options that could help. And if we don't provide the correct information, you will be providing us with wrong advice based on wrong information. So we appreciate that, Honorable Member. The 1.9 billion transfer to municipalities, I don't think I think it's a function of how government dispatches the equitable share. Because even if a municipality is, apart from COVID-19, these monies are distributed in trenches. as you know, they don't get the money once off because there's issues of accountability. Before you account, you must provide the money, and that's why this money has not been made as a grant per se, but it's part of the equitable share. So they will know that over and above what they have, there is additional money which will come. That's how Treasury, at least to the best of my knowledge, that's how they dispatch it. So, and I agree with you on the issue that at this point we don't know. That's why I said today we asked our treasurer, because as you know that they've got the statutory responsibility to take care of these issues of finances. We complement each other, and we appreciate the fact that they told us the truth. You can imagine if we came here and said municipality X has budgeted so much or reprioritized so much. A few months down the line, you find that that's not the case. We would have misled the committee, and we don't want to do that. Though it's not a palatable information because it's not helpful, but that's the case, and we will definitely endeavor to fast track this process. They've promised us that they will do this. But what we know, and we can assure the committee, is that we have advised our municipalities that this money from that is being reprioritized, and that comes from the equitable share, cannot be used for certain things like paying of salaries. It must be used for service delivery. That we have firmly put on the table. And that there's things like decontamination, sanitization, and in the presentation you will see already there are those details that we have given. But that's not a complete picture. I'm sure Honorable Khadebe wants a complete picture so that you can be able to measure whether there's an impact or not, and whether this will change the lives of our people or not. On the riots in Mamelodi, Chair, and the refuse collection, you are correct. The city is under administration. You know that the city was led by the DA until dissolution. There's two issues related to this. One of them is the salary increases of 6.2%, which was an agreement of the collective bargaining council at the SALGA level for all the municipalities across the country. And that was 3 years back. This is the last year. It was not anticipated that would be where we are. And as a result of the objective reality, the municipality, like all others, have serious financial problems. And they've said to the workers, we are prepared to pay you the 6.2. However, can you please allow us to stagger it and phase the payments? Because what is guiding us, firstly, is the fact that the workers, and in fact, it's today's decision as well in our meeting with the mayors, is that the workers are a lifeblood of any municipality, and they're important, and they must be given what is entitled to them as a matter of principle. But there are other important principles like the citizens and service delivery. So we have to balance that. And then there's an issue of benchmarking, relooking at the salary structures of all employees in the municipality. That municipality has got about 25,000, if I'm not mistaken. I stand to be corrected, Chair. So the unions did not want to hear none of that. And they've said, no, we are going to the streets. Then the administrator said, okay, we can compromise despite the constraints and stomach the 6.2, we can pay it immediately. However, on the issue of benchmarking, which in itself, Chair, it's riddled with a lot of weaknesses when the DA-led administration agreed to. Let's subject it to a process of a mediator who must look at matters objectively. But for now, we will pay the 6.2, because if we were to do the benchmarking by next year this time or a bit later, the municipality might be forced to retrench. And we said we don't want that situation. The workers said no, but as far as we know, you've got 1.3 billion in an investment account. We said that once you start tapping into the investment account, it means the municipality is bankrupt, and that's going to lead us to a situation where other municipalities are. If anything, that 1.3 billion must be preserved, it must be increased, and it must be directed towards service delivery. Because if we are not able to have reserves, it means the municipality is bankrupt, and it might just as well close down. However, with the trend, as you have seen, of revenue collection improving, the municipality is optimistic that they will be able to meet the unions halfway on the issue of benchmarking without compromising the service delivery and the financial health of the municipality. And we said, you can't put a municipality under administration and bankrupt that municipality. It's a contradiction. You can't do that. So at the same time, we will not compromise on the rights and the quality of life of the workers. So there must be that balance. So there's two unions, the SAMU and there's IMATU. IMATU members have gone back to work, they are working. Some SAMU members have gone back to work, they are working. When there's a problem like electricity in Mamelodi, those workers who want to work are being intimidated, they are being attacked, but there's also acts of sabotage, because whenever those who are working are able to respond to the call, there's elements who goes out to disconnect. For instance, in Mamelodi, we have connected that place, I think, twice or three times, and it has been disconnected twice or three times. With refuse, it has been worse because they're supposed to collect it during the day, and it has not been easy. The issue of electricity, we even had to work in the evenings. We are working in the evenings. So now we are engaging the law enforcement agencies to protect those who want to work so that they are able to restore services to the communities of Tshwane. The similar situation has arisen today in Atteridgeville, but I can assure you, Chair, that it has nothing to do with administration. In fact, the truth is the opposite. Since the administration came in, there's been a lot of improvement in terms of service delivery. For instance, the water situation in Amanskraal has not been addressed for many, many years. Since they came in there, there's a contractor on site now. Refuse was improving, and other service delivery related. There's been a backlog of litigations to the value of about 3 billion, because when the DA municipality was in charge, they cancelled everybody's contract, whoever that they suspected. And the city has been losing cases, and the administrators are trying now to renegotiate with some of the contractors, because if they don't, the situation could be severe. It means the city must now have 3 billion to pay people who have been wrongfully checked out. There's a huge backlog of labor cases where people were unfairly dismissed. And there has been awards by arbitrators, by the CCMA, by the labor courts, and the municipality was refusing to adhere and implement that. There were, for instance, 127 Metro Police officers who were trained just before 2016 and who were supposed to be placed, and the city refused. But when the administrators came in, they absorbed those people. So we can give a report some other day in detail on all these issues. So if anything, Chair, I can give you comfort that the administration and the intervention was actually a good and in the best interest of the citizens of Tshwane. And unfortunately, what is happening is reversing the gains that we have made. We will work hard. I have personally met with the unions, especially some, and we've agreed with them on this issue of getting an arbitrator. But unfortunately, it seems they have reneged. But it seems as well that the leadership has lost control of the situation, the leadership of the unions. So there's a myriad of issues. And then, I will personally be addressing this issue, by the way, of disruptions, outages in the city, and what must happen. On the issue of the monitoring in the absence of councillors, in fact, the war rooms in other areas are chaired by councillors. But in Tshwane, we said we will delegate CDWs and other officials. We know these are not elected representatives, but because of the abnormal situation we find ourselves in, we could not allow for a vacuum. It is for purposes of coordination. So there is a coordination in the wards. In certain wards, there is a resistance. There are wards which were previously DA-led, for instance. Councillors have, in those wards, refused that the administration and the municipality must do work. So those are some of the challenges that we're facing. Thank you very much, Chairperson and honorable members.
Honorable members, does it address all your concerns before we close the meeting?
We're covered, Chair. We're properly covered on my side.
On your side.
Speak to yourself. Speak for yourself, Peggy.
Honorable Mkalipi.
I just want to ask the MEC the last one question, Chair.
Okay.
Can I?
Yes, you can do that.
Okay. Okay, first of all, thanks very much, Chairperson, for the MEC to say that he is prepared to provide more clarity on the issues we raised as this committee, because we want specifics here. We don't want an MEC is going to generalize. MEC, correctly so, you put it here to say that the regulations that govern the COVID-19, it also speaks to the needs of our people on the ground. I just want to get the MEC because I don't want to be seen as if there's a dialogue between myself and him. I was speaking on behalf of the committee as a member of this committee, but when the MEC said he is capable of being arrogant, but he didn't display his arrogance here today, that one alone, it also says a lot about the MEC. Chairperson, I didn't want to ask this, but since he said so, I just want to put it to him to clarify to us here as members of this committee, as the MEC for Gauteng. If is it true that around May, during the lockdown, during the level 4 lockdown, there was a gentleman by the name of Lucky from Tshwane, Lucky Nkwashu, who was complaining about the disconnection of his electricity by a certain company in Tshwane. I just wanted to put to the MEC also to clear his name, because I also don't believe that the MEC can respond to an ordinary member who is very desperate in terms of the electricity being cut during the lockdown, even if not during the lockdown, Chairperson. You know that our people are also experiencing some challenges in respect of unemployment. So therefore, if they have elected members they can talk to, it's up to us as elected members, as public representatives, to talk to our people and resolve those things that are raised by our people. So there was an SMS that I received, and I don't know if I have forwarded, because most of the time when I receive such SMSs, I also forwarding to the leadership of the department, but I can't remember specifically, or I was shocked. The message was to the MSC of Cooperative, whereby this member of the public wanted to get intervention of the MSC. So the honorable member, by the name of the MEC, alleged, let me put it very clear, Chair, alleged. That's why I wanted the MEC to respond, to confirm or to deny. He sent that member by responding to say that, don't start with me. I didn't switch off your electricity. I say you must not pay. I'm not your friend. I have handed you over to the people who must help you. What more do you want from me? And the second one, of which I don't know why the MEC was so furious about this member. I don't know what this member have said to the MEC. If it's true that the MEC also responded for the second time, saying to Mr. Lucky Shwangu, fuck you, you don't know me, bloody Askari. I'll mess you up, you bastard. I'm not an arrivalist in the ANC. Go and research. I just wanted to clarify with the MEC if he did indeed have an altercation with a member of the public. As a result, these are the SMSs from the MEC, or is a fake SMS, and they want to deal with the MEC. So I will take it from there, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, MEC, are you in a position to respond to that?
With pleasure, Chair, with pleasure. I receive SMSs every day and I respond to all of them. We have that responsibility, and I think I remember this Mr. Nkwashu, who was actually saying that he's a member of the ANC, and is actually what is it entitled because he has been in the struggle and all that. So we can't allow people to use the name of the ANC and drag it in the mud. So he's not just an ordinary member of a community. He's a member of he says himself. In fact, member Mkalipi, he must give you all the SMSs and the interactions we had with him. What we will not allow is people using the name of the ANC to get privileges, because our organization is being accused of giving favors to members of the ANC and not members of the society. I can give you my phone, Chair, and you can check all those issues that the member has raised. And all members of the public who some of them insult us on a daily basis, we never insult them because we understand that we've got a responsibility to serve our people. And sometimes they do it not out of disrespect, but out of desperation. But anybody who abuses the membership of the ANC, I'm sure Member Mkalipi would agree, and maybe he didn't tell you that he said he was a struggle hero and therefore he can't be subjected to whatever. And I remember very well that in that block of flats, there were specific issues, and he was given a response by the municipality on what transpired, and it transpired later that it was not the outage, but it was the issue of a payment and all that. So we will never disrespect members of the public. So that was a conversation between a comrade of the ANC who was dragging the good name of the ANC into the mud. And we will never, ever insult members of the public. Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
The person.
Chair.
Chairperson.
Who
Hello.
else is calling the chairperson?
It's myself, my chair.
Okay, I could hear you. Is there any other person? Did I hear Direko raising a hand?
It was me, Chair Mokgeti. You forgot
by
that
the way, yes. Can we first allow MEC Mukherjee? Then it will be Chloe and Kaiser. We need to wrap up now. Okay, you must be brief. Dr. Mukherjee.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thanks for the question. Chairperson.
Who's calling the chairperson now? Who's Okay. You want to be the number 3 on the speakers list?
Yeah, Chair, on this one of the MEC, I thought we were going to repeat it nicely.
Okay, but we must come to an end, honorable member. Okay, it's fine. Let's allow Honorable Mukherjee to respond. Then it will be Honorable Chloe, Plaza, and yourself who must work towards wrapping up the meeting now. We have agreed we are still going to engage with the province on a number of issues. This is not the first and the last time. There's also that commitment from the colleagues from the Gauteng provincial government they are saying they are free to be held accountable, and then we can structure our meetings properly in future so that they can still come back and account to us. Can we try to move towards the end, the conclusion of the business of the day? MEC Mukherjee.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and thank you for the question. On the tracing mechanism, Chair, yes, we don't have a strategy at this point. And yes, I agree with you that there is a possibility that these homeless people might be spreading the disease. But last week, as I said here in my presentation, I did visit one of the homeless, where they're housing the homeless. And after that, I had then agreed with the department that from Monday, they must open files for each and every homeless person so that we can be able to account for each and every homeless person in our homeless shelters. And then I have also requested, I think I've raised a question with Prof on Monday, and Prof has also guaranteed me support that they will be assisting, because the question that I asked was that do they still do mass screening and testing? Then he said he will assist me, they will give me support. I'm planning to take a campaign to all the shelters in September, where I'll be having a team from Department of Health, Social Services, SASA, and Home Affairs Chair. And then in that process, Chair, we will be able to to be screening all of them who are in our shelters. But Chair, as I said earlier, we are fortunate that we never had a reported death in our homeless shelters or anybody who is sick in our shelters. We hope that because they are screened on daily basis, we hope that that is sufficient to be able to detect if there's anyone with COVID. But as I said, Chair, we will be taking a campaign to all the 5 regions to make sure that we are screening them. And most of them, when I visited, they said they don't have IDs. I will be taking a home affairs there as well so that they can have IDs and can be able to apply for the 350. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Mukherjee. Honorable Tou. Can you unmute your microphone, Honorable Tou?
Yeah, is it fine?
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson. My question to the MEC Maile was that on the issue of the people that got the variation ruling on the 14 June 2019 to be reinstated with immediate effect for unfairly dismissed, where should they send in their variation ruling awards and reports? I thank you, Chair.
Okay. Honorable Matlo. Honorable Keza.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Chairperson. I asked the question about the densification of the informal settlement, particularly with focus on the fact that you are removing people. I know very well where Marlborough is. I stayed in Kelvin for a very, very long time of my life, 15 years of my life. So I know the commuting between Kelvin and all the taxis that are going through from town to Orange Grove and Marlborough and so forth. And my worry was that what considerations thereof in terms of the children that will be moved to those areas if the province has even considered that there will be children in this process. Number 2, Chair, I don't know whether the MEC was agreeing with the statement of Honorable that was read by Honorable Mkhalipi that says an insult, fuck you, to a member of the public. And if that's so, you'd remember that last time we met, Chairperson, we spoke about the conduct of public representatives from the ruling party that are socialized in a certain manner. I don't know what causes that. I even spoke about the 90% of councillors that are, even here where I'm staying in Steve Tshwete, they are actually, people are sick and tired of being told where to get off by councillors here, how stupid they are and so forth after they voted for them. And so I would like to really, or it goes to on record here in the committee, whether that statement was made by him, and what was it, what was the insult really for, whether it was done to protect the party and so forth. As a public representative, I do not think that you have the monopoly to speak to people like that who actually are employing you through their votes. I do not think that you'd have the audacity or even the power to do that to people who actually are your employers, in fact. Yesterday, I spoke, Chair, about
I asked questions relating to the army being deployed. I still do not understand. Why is the army, what contributed, what kind of decision was that? What thought process went behind the decision that informed deployment of army following all these things that we have seen in the media, and the psychology of the learners? What will it do to the psychology of the learners? Nothing. I was not answered on that. Instead, I was told how they are deployed. They are deployed to assist with food parcels and so forth. And I do not know if there are no health workers to do those things. And why do soldiers do such things now? In light of the fact that there was a Ngaitobi argument in court that spoke to the neutralization of enemies and the mandate that the soldiers are given, and what mandate do the soldiers then are given to be in the space of the school premises or around the school premises, whether to protect the vandalization and so forth. I then asked, where are the police? You know, how could you replace the police like that and just decide that you will bring in a scarecrow? Because police are a scarecrow already in society. They killed the people of Marikana. So they are a scarecrow already. So you don't have to bring another scarecrow on top of the one that has killed the people of Marikana. So I really don't understand, and I don't think that I was answered my question. Really, you know, this thing of when you answer questions and then you defer and you patronize us must come to an end in the committee. I think that the questions must be of clarity, that I'm asking this particular question. And at some point, Honorable Gauteng brought this thing that I should follow up so that this person understands where I'm coming from. Otherwise, then he just answers and he misquotes you and then he moves on, you know. And we would not have done the work because, you know, we can't rush the process of parliament like that, you know. So in terms of that, I would like to get clarity, please. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Leza. Honorable Mkalip.
No, thanks very much for the MEC to be being honest. However, I thought that, Chair, the MEC must also take into consideration that whether that person was ANC or was not an ANC, but given the fact that he is given a responsibility to lead that person, that particular person, the MEC must not respond like the way he does to people. So earlier on, I raised the issue of the Speaker of Mfuleni, and the MEC said here, the particular municipality will deal with that particular speaker. Little did I know that the MEC is also responding to the people of Gauteng like he did. MEC, we are leaders, we get insulted every day, but because we know that we got insulted because of the fact that we are leaders, we can't also act emotionally as leaders. The people must have at least a room to speak to us as their elected leaders, especially if they are in a situation whereby they are frustrated. MEC, I'll propose that next time or going forward, you must refrain from responding to the public when we are very angry. Whether that person is wrong, But the fact of the matter is that you remain a leader. You are a leader of a society. You are a leader of Gauteng. You are trusted with the responsibility of being the MEC. There is no way, there's no justification that as being a leader, you can respond to people like the way you responded to this Lucky Squire, saying that fuck you to him. I'm not justifying if he also insulted you, but I'm saying I'm talking to you at the level of a leader, that it can be. You can't be a leader having such huge responsibility and you respond to people in such a manner that people must come and cry to other level of government. I appeal to you, MEC, to do something. Yesterday, I raised an issue of a person who died in a hospital. I asked Honorable Jacob Mamabula if he went to the family to go and meet with the family. I know that it was not him personally, but the fact that he's an acting MEC of health, we must take responsibility if our people are dying in our hands. So now again, MEC of Cooperative, I don't accept that you speak to people in the manner you are speaking with. So even if you fight in ANC because of what is happening in the ANC, but this person was talking to you as the MEC of Cooperative to intervene in his situation, find it in your heart, go and talk to that person and take a responsibility of being a leader. And going forward, Chair, I will propose that our leaders who are trusted by the poorest of the poor to lead them during this time of need, they must never think that they are superior, they are above to everyone in South Africa. All the time you must be down on earth is either you avoid to respond to SMSs that are provocative to you, or you just ignore. Is not even occurring well. It does not occur well to anyone, especially that you are the MEC of Cooperative, Honorable Maile. Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay, MEC Maile, you will respond to the issues as raised by Honorable Tho and Honorable Kleza. There was a question about densification. So then when you deal with that, then yes, you will also then say your last words as a leader of the delegation from Gauteng. Then one will then close the meeting. Yes. Over to you, MEC.
Thank you very much, Comrade Chair and members of the committee. On the issue raised by Honorable Tho, I would suggest, Honorable Tho, you can send me because I don't have the email now of the administrator with me. Just send me the email. My email address is lebohang.maile@gauteng.gov.za. They can send that information, or they can give it to you. You can send it to me. It's lebohang.maile@gauteng.gov.za. I will definitely pass it on. On the issues of the de-densification, yeah, well, maybe let me not have a dialogue with the honorable member about whether Marlborough or Kelvin is far away. I live in Batlu, which is, I can walk from Batlu to Alex. When you are in Marlborough or Kelvin, we've got about how many schools there's a school in Tutumani, in Far East Bank. You literally can walk there. But I take the point that when we relocate people, they must not be far from opportunities. In fact, our spatial transformation framework is actually informed by the fact that we have to build houses where there's opportunities for people to work, opportunities for people to have fun, to have schools, and they must not be far from opportunities. The same way that the suburbs are. And that's why in our what is this human settlement strategy, we have now adopted what we call mega settlements, because we no longer want to build 200 houses in isolation from opportunities, or 300 or 4,000. We want to build 10,000 and above. And when we build, there must be work opportunities, there must be integrated social amenities, so that people can go to school, they can go to libraries and all that. So I take the point. In principle, we don't have a problem with what the member is saying, and maybe we're just speaking past each other. We can just deal with the details. It's not a problem. The next issue, Chair, I have not agreed to any statement before the committee because I am not on trial, and I was explaining where the issue I had with the person concerned. And in the same breath, I take the counsel and the advice of the Honorable Member Mkhalipi. I'm sure that comes from a good heart, and it's a good advice. And I agree with you that leaders must behave in a certain way. They must uphold the highest standards, and they must we must never, under any circumstances, be provoked. And unfortunately, or rather fortunately, leaders don't have the luxury of being themselves once they occupy positions of responsibility, whether in the organization or in government. I will not differ, because that's what all of us must do. With those few words, Chair, we want to take this opportunity as the Gauteng Provincial Government to thank the Portfolio Committee for indulging us and for also engaging robustly. And rest assured, Chair, that we are not in any way feeling attacked by members of the committee when issues are raised, whether it's difficult or it's easy issues. After all, we've got the responsibility, because leadership is about resolving people's problems. If we can't resolve people's problems, then we don't deserve to be in the positions that we're in, because we're not saving our jackets. So we welcome your interaction, and at all times we will avail ourselves as the provincial government to any committee of parliament, like we always do in our legislature. And we will definitely, Chair, provide all the information that the committee wants. And if you are not happy with whatever information, you can always call us or write us correspondence, and we will definitely respond. I believe that is the commitment we've made when we went to our people last year to ask for their votes. Unfortunately, we don't have the luxury of doing anything different. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you so much, MEC. From our side as well, we want to appreciate all of you. MEC Miles, the leader of the delegation, MEC Mamabulo, MEC Lisufi, and MEC Moketi, for you having spent the 2 days with us. I think we must be honest that the deliberations were thorough, and then we had an opportunity to exhaust everything. And this was one of its kind, because with the other provinces that we've interacted with, it was only for a day. But I should believe these 2 days has given us an opportunity to also see, and the way also the reports were so detailed, especially, I don't want to single out, but the reports were also detailed, such that they also assist us to do our oversight work. As I've said earlier, we also want to appreciate that you are also open for further engagement with the committee. Then we will communicate with you. And then there's one thing that I should have said if I started the meeting, also to appreciate the good work that you've done. I see Gauteng has improved in terms of the municipal audit outcomes. It's a sign that the colleagues in the province are hard at work, but we are still going to engage with you on those matters, and we are still going to looking forward to a fruitful engagement with you like what we have done. Colleagues, it's almost 10:30. This meeting was supposed to have adjourned at 9 o'clock. So I must also thank the parliamentary support staff. All the time, their support is so amazing. Because if it was others, they would be sending me SMSs to say, Chair, 9 o'clock is long past time, but you understand the list of the lead committee responsible for the when the slot outside the parliamentary program is constituency week. But the House Chairperson has granted this opportunity for us to engage with you by virtue of the fact that as the committee, we need to then do oversight on all government institutions that are responsible for the implementation of the National Disaster Management Act. So we want to appreciate you, colleagues, everyone present in the meeting, for having spent this time with us. Till we meet again, the meeting gets adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chairperson. Bye-bye.
Bye, Chair.
Thank you,
Thank you, Chair.
Gauteng, bye-bye. 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 Gauteng, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, Bye-bye, Hatem.
Good night.
Bye-bye, Maile. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This is Pindi.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
Comrade Lebo.
Good night. Good night, Chair.